chapel. Thank you all for being here with us in this space. I'm again Jenny Lynn Moyer. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a member of the Cedar Lane Quartet. And I'm a middle-aged female with long blonde hair wearing a festive green striped sweater because I love the month of March and St. Patrick's Day. So I'd like to invite you all to greet your neighbor, rise and say hello to those around you before we sing welcome together.
Good morning.
Hello, hello.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi. Oh, there we go. I don't know what to do. Can do one of each, see which one they go. See?
Wonderful to have you all here. Please join us in singing welcome. Singing welcome.
Welcome to this space. You're invited to come and take your place. All are welcome to grow in love and grace. 'Cause everyone is welcome here. Welcome in this space.
That's always such a nice way to start the morning. Good morning. I am the Reverend Dana Edwards, and my pronouns are she and her. I am a white woman with short, brownish reddish hair and a blue button-down shirt this morning. And whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your beliefs, gender identity, immigration or documentation status, whatever your disability, and wherever you're joining us from this morning, in person or at home, in the library, at Cedar Lane, or here in the chapel, you are welcome to bring your whole, entire, beautifully, perfectly imperfect self here. So welcome. And a special welcome to those of you who are new at Cedar Lane this morning. If you're joining us for the first time today, or if you just still feel kind of new, please raise your hand so that we can give you a warm Cedar Lane welcome, or add your name in the chat if you're online. Warm Cedar Lane welcome, everyone. Yay! And our weekly e-newsletter is a great way to stay updated about all the events happening at Cedar Lane. And you can sign up through the link on our website homepage, which is at www.cedarlane.org. Our pastoral visitors are an extension of our ministry team, and Kay Gottesman is over here in the chapel for us this morning, and she's available to support you in person. And of course, we always have a pastoral presence online as well. We are getting settled here this morning in this new way of being. So this morning, I invite you to just take a deep breath and enter fully into this new space. Remembering that Cedar Lane UU congregation is situated on the ancestral land of the Nacotchtank people, part of the Piscataway group of tribes. And we're situated on the land in which enslaved African people and their descendants labored and lived without choice or reward. We honor with gratitude the land and all the people who have protected it throughout the generations. We gather in gratitude for all who have gone before us, whose love and labor helped create and sustain the mission and ministry of this religious community. In this spirit we gather, in this spirit we begin, in this spirit we worship together.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Rogentine, and I'm the worship associate for today's service. Good to be with you all in this new space today. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm a 5'11", Indian. I'm wearing navy blue pants and shirt today. I'm doing this for the first time, Abhi, so bear with me. Okay, great. Okay, well, it's a new space, and I'm glad everything's working out for today morning. Now, I would like to invite Raj Mehta to kindle the chalice. Now, as Raj Mehta kindles the chalice, please share in the chat where you're lighting your chalice from. Please rise in body and or in spirit to share the chalice lighting words. We kindle the chalice, symbol of our beloved community, with faith to face our challenges, with love that casts out fear, with hope to trust tomorrow. We accept this day as the gift it is, a day of remembrance and celebration. Thank you.
Now's the time in our service where we open the Wonder Box. And usually when I do this, there's a little kid who might want to help open the Wonder Box. I wonder if there's a little kid who might want to help open the Wonder Box today. Or maybe someone young at heart. If you want to, you can come up. If you don't want to, it's okay. I wonder if there's someone young at heart who might want to open the Wonder Box today. Come on up, Kimberly. Yay. Now, when we do this with two people, usually one person opens it and one person pulls it out. What could be in there today? I wonder. Looks like something fun to touch. Ooh. Can you hold it up so everybody can see, maybe with two hands? Yeah. Interesting. That's a beautiful container. There's something in the container that's really small. What is that? Thank you so much. Let's see if we can show a little bit. Thank you very much. So we have in this beautiful vase bowl thingy some mustard seeds. Mustard seeds. Can you see? I wonder what mustard seeds might have to do with good grief, Abhi.
If you taste it, you'll go good.
That could be it. That could be it. I do know a story about mustard seeds and grief, though. Would you all like to hear it? Yeah? Okay. There once lived a young woman named Kisa Gatmi. And I should mention that this story does have to do with the death of a child. And Kisa Gatmi had a son who died suddenly. And in her grief, she carried her dead child to all her neighbors, asking them, please, revive him. Please, give me some medicine to help make him better. And the people thought she had lost her senses. Now, she asked one neighbor, please, help me, help me. And the neighbor said, I suggest you go see Gautama Buddha, the enlightened one. So Kisa Gautami went to the Buddha and cried, "Lord, Master, give me medicine that will help me revive my boy." And the Buddha answered, "I want a handful of mustard seeds." And the mother was overjoyed, and she said, sure, yeah, I'll get you the mustard seeds. But the Buddha said, the mustard seeds must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, a husband, a parent, or a friend. So Kisma Gautami went from house to house and said, "Do you have some mustard seed? Can I have some mustard seed, please?" And of course, everyone said, sure, take some mustard seed, whatever you need. But then she said, wait, did a daughter or a father or a mother die in your family? And they all answered, "Alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Do not remind us of our deepest grief." And there was no house where a beloved one had not died in it. So Kisma Gautami became very weary and hopeless and sat down by the wayside. She considered her situation and the fate of all human beings, that their lives flicker up and are extinguished like the lights in a city. And she thought to herself, death is common to us all. Yet in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads one to enlightenment. One who has understood this truth can cultivate compassion for all beings. With that, Kisa Gautami buried her child and returned to the Buddha with a new understanding. I wonder what lessons you have learned from the grief you've experienced in your life. And as you contemplate that wondering, I invite you to rise in body or spirit and sing hymn 100, "I've Got Peace Like a River."
Rachel, very gently guide us into this song.
I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in
All right. Good morning. I'm Abhi Janamanchi. I'm one of the ministers serving this religious community. My pronouns are he and him, and I am an older, brown-skinned Indian male, and I'm wearing a green vest with a chalice pin on it. Welcome. Wow, this is nice. I have to say, it just feels comfy, cozy, intimate, maybe a little too close for some folks. We're all in this together. There are a number of things, as always, to lift up this morning, including our construction updates, which is the reason we are here. Our construction began this past week, with a wonderful groundbreaking ceremony we had on Sunday, and the construction folks have been setting up the space and preparing for the big week, which is this week. This week they'll be beginning the asbestos abatement, which means we'll have to be out of the building for a few weeks going forward. Therefore, starting next Sunday, we will be going completely online for 3 Sundays. So March 19th, the 26th, and April 2nd. We will be having live worship on our YouTube channel. So please continue to join us. And we're also encouraging folks to form watch parties and meet in each other's homes and kind of get together and do this journey together. And we have some sign-ups for folks who are interested to host watch parties as well as to attend some of these watch parties. Please look in the e-news for more information about how you may be able to participate in one. And during this time period, we will still have in-person religious education faith formation programming in the Chalice House, which is right across that little hill that you see when you come in. So we'll have programming there for our children and youth, that those of you who have children and youth are encouraged to bring them, and we will also be having some watch parties for parents who will be here on campus on those Sundays. And we are into the second week of our 2023 annual fund generosity campaign, and I am happy to report that we have raised over $450,000 from 115 pledging families and individuals. Thank you so much for all who have generously pledged your financial support for the mission and ministry of Cedar Lane for next year. And we are halfway there, folks. Our goal this year is $900,000, so we can get there. In 2 weeks, we are halfway there, so 2 more weeks, and we'll be all set. And then we will all rise again on April 9th, Easter Sunday, to celebrate our commitment. Right? Yes. All right. Later today at 2 o'clock, we will be joining River Road and other partners who are members of Action in Montgomery, AIM, at the People's Community Baptist Church in Silver Spring for AIM's Assembly, which will be a forum to hold our county executive and the Montgomery County Council accountable for the many things that they have promised they would attend to. And this will be at 2:30 p.m. Just a show of hands, how many of you are planning to go this afternoon? All right, wonderful. Cedar Lane has always brought a large contingent, so I'm hoping that we will show up in strength this afternoon to witness and to participate in so many ways, democracy in action. In May, I invite you to hold 2 dates, which are wonderful congregational opportunities, an opportunity for us to continue to gather and be in community and deepen our connections together. The first one is a congregational retreat that is being planned at Camp Takwa. After many years, we're back to having a congregational retreat. Thank you, Kimberly Clarkson and others who have taken the lead in helping this happen. This will be May 5th through the 7th. Takwa is a place where many Cedar Laners, adults, youth, and children have attended many a retreat over the years, and we will be returning to Camp Takwa. This is near Chestertown, Maryland. And if you're interested to know more, Kimberly will be here after service to share more information, as well as registration is available through a link. You can find it in our e-news. And we are hoping that folks will register by March 24th. So please hold that date as you think about participating in this. And then the following weekend, we're going to gather as a community at UU Rockville for our 2023 spring auction celebration, for a dinner party followed by a live auction. And the theme this year is Making Magic Together. And we'll have a magician, well known in the area, who'll be performing for both the adults and the children. So, I love magic, so I'm really looking forward to this. And there will also be a silent auction that will begin April 30th and go through May 15th. Tickets will be available for sale later this month. If you'd like to know more about how you might donate to the auction or think about attending, please stop by the auction table. Kathy and Mindy, our wonderful co-chairs for our auction this year, will be there and to answer any questions. All right, how are we doing? For those of you who are visiting or joining us for the first time today, this is an important Unitarian Universalist ritual that you have just been a part of. It's a deeply spiritual practice of sharing announcements during worship. So thank you for your forbearance in letting me go on and on. And now we move into the space of naming and sharing the joys and sorrows of our community and beyond.
Good morning. This is Rajendran again. Sharing of joys and sorrows. Let us center ourselves and enter into this moment, calling upon all sources of love that are within, among, and around us. We lift up those in our community who are living through significant passages, the small and extraordinary milestones of life. We pause to be present to our spiritual companions and to the concerns of our own hearts. Within our Cedar Lane community, we send healing wishes to Bob Esnick, who's recovering from shoulder surgery. Our caring extends beyond Cedar Lane to others whose lives are lost and whose lives are impacted by war, violence, and calamities in our nation and in our world. May these friends of ours, our companions in the world, and all the joys and sorrows we hold in our hearts be held in the embrace of silence. As we enter the silence together, you are invited to rise in body and or in spirit and speak the names of the loved ones that you're holding in remembrance or share their names in the chat. Thank you.
Sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul.
Speak for me.
Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul.
Dance with me.
Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul.
Comfort me.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
Good morning. My name is Mala Wedberg, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm Indian, the only child of a Kashmiri Hindu father and Kurgi Tamil Christian mother. I left India in the early 1960s, spent 12 plus years in Kabul, Afghanistan with family, and came to the United States in the mid-70s to marry Jim Wedberg, a US Foreign Service officer. My liberal father supported my growing up Christian. We celebrated Christian and Hindu observances, though, all while I happily attended Sunday school. My upbringing underscored tolerance for all faiths. As a young adult, I didn't attend church, too busy working till retirement, then traveling on postings and vacations. Sound familiar? But retirement gave me plenty of time to think about my spiritual self. So I attended a few different churches periodically, including Cedar Lane. As someone with Christian, Hindu, Jewish, and Muslim faiths in my immediate family, I came to value enormously Cedar Lane's commitment to religious openness and multinationalism, and also its members' demonstrated care for community. It became clear to me that this was the place to which I could bring my whole self. In 2014, my Jim was diagnosed with cancer. He passed away 4 years ago this month. During and after his illness, I received support from Cedar Lane's ministers and pastoral visitors, which helped mitigate my feelings of helplessness and grief. I resolved then to become a pledging member of this congregation, which I did in 2016, and later, in 2018, accepted Reverend Katie Romanos-Griffin's invitation to join the pastoral care team. Because of all this, I'm committed to continue supporting our beloved community, financially, via pastoral care, and in any other way that I can, so that Cedar Lane can keep growing and thriving.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Batcher, and I am the Social Justice Coordinator at Cedar Lane. My pronouns are he and they. I am 5'4", white, bald. I'm wearing a kind of checkered maroon and white shirt and khaki pants. And I'm going to give the offertory. So every Sunday, we give and receive an offering to support the mission and ministry of our congregation and a community organization in alignment with our UU values. Our offering reminds us that our congregation belongs to us, to each of us, as well as to the whole of us. It is an extension of our gratitude for our spiritual home, where we are invited to be who we are, as we are, and to live lives of joy, hope, integrity, and service. Today we share the plate with Through Piscataway Eyes, a nonprofit serving the Piscataway Kahnoi tribe whose ancestral lands cover much of present-day Maryland, Northern Virginia, D.C., and West Virginia. Today, the Piscataway have no lands of their own. Tribe members must pay land taxes on the stolen lands of their ancestors. Let that sink in. The insult of paying taxes for what was taken from you. At every Sunday service, we mention the Piscataway in our land acknowledgement. And this Sunday, I want to invite us into a spirit of reparations. I want to invite us to consider that we have benefited from the harm to others, that we owe something to those who were harmed, and that reparations are an expression of our values, our own spiritual calling. The tribe asks for more than a land acknowledgement. They want us to give back. Through Piscataway Eyes addresses insecurities in healthcare, education, food, land access, and more for tribe members. Donations today are one way to support the tribe whose lands we occupy. Whatever you can give, thank you very deeply.
Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long way from home. A long way from home. Sometimes I
Thank you, Rachel, Jenny Lynn, Travis, and Kevin, and Jasmine. Oh, wow. This Sunday, or usually this Sunday in March, is not my favorite Sunday. It's like I lose an hour of my life that I can never get back. So I thought at least this year I would talk about grief. Daylight savings. Well, it's also, this is the third anniversary of our shutting down for the pandemic. And we are marking this anniversary in this space, having moved ourselves from our beloved sanctuary. So there are these threshold moments I also recognize that thought might be good to spend some time reflecting on grief and loss. So what is good about grief? Well, many years ago when I was serving congregation in Clearwater, Florida, I got a call that one of our beloved congregants, who was 95, was taken to the hospital, and she was not doing well. And so I rushed over to the hospital and saw that she had been moved to a room, and she was having a lot of respiratory distress and was sleeping. So I was really beside myself with grief at the prospect of losing someone that I had just come to love, Dorothy Young. So I just sat with her, held her hand, and started talking to her, just a way to somehow deal with whatever it was that I was feeling at that time. So I kept talking and talking and talking, telling her all kinds of things and letting her know that she will get better. Her daughter was flying over, so I said she's on her way, she'll be with you this evening, and that everybody in the congregation were rooting for her, that everything would be fine. And then I started praying, actually babbling. I don't think I was actually praying. I was praying, and then I started crying, and then I started praying more loudly. It was just going on and on for a while. And then suddenly I looked at her in the midst of all this, and I noticed that her eyes were open and they were staring back at me. And these were large blue eyes that were very clear and focused. So I stopped and I said, "Hi, Dorothy, it's Abhi from church," which is usually how I introduce myself when I go visiting people. And then, with what must have been considerable effort on her part, and she took off her mask, she said in a clear voice, and in words that I continue to hear after all these years, she said, "Yes, I know. I heard you going on and on. Good grief." As if to say to me, "Abhi, why all this fuss about me? I am 95. I have lived a really good life. Let me die." So she said, "Good grief closed her eyes, and went back to sleep. She died later that day. Grieving is one of the most important of human activities. While we most often think of grief in the context of death, and that is an important aspect of death, grieving the loss of a loved one, there are also other kinds of losses that cut us to the quick as well. Divorce, separation, job loss, terminal illness, retirement, moving from a beloved home, living through a pandemic, moving out of a beloved spiritual sanctuary, to name just a few of the challenging and sometimes traumatic experiences which may befall us on life's journey. The symptoms are similar, if not as deeply painful. But loss and grief are facts of life. Everyone loses something at one time or another. We lose our loved ones. We lose our health. We lose money. We lose our glasses. I have to keep them. We lose our memories. We lose our socks. We lose life itself. And this is the essential truth that Gautama Buddha was trying to teach Kisa Gautami in that story about the mustard seed. That we all have losses. Every single one of us, no exceptions. Necessary and unnecessary losses, ordinary and not so ordinary losses. Nothing, the Buddha teaches us, is permanent. How we deal with our losses, our grief, is what makes all the difference. And part of that is accepting the impermanence of all beings and all things. And in doing so, we are invited into an intimate relationship with grief. Not just grief as past, concrete loss, but grief as fear of loss. A particular type of loss connected to the present and the future. And when we accept our relationship to impermanence and the grief that comes with it, we are invited back into a relationship with ourselves. Thus, back into a relationship with all beings. Now, the wise ones tell us that over time, the pain of the loss gets less, more manageable. And I've experienced this myself. My mother died 9 years ago this month, and I'm still grieving. And when I remember my mother, I can still hear her voice. I can still feel the warmth of her breath and her hug. I can taste her cooking, the good stuff and the not so good stuff. And I can hear her lecturing me about how I must live my life. Oh, yes, I do. And sometimes when my heart is soft, I cry. And sometimes I smile to remember. But the pain is less. The pain is less because I have found places to put the strength of my love for my mother. I found places and people where the movement and the gestures of her fierce love for me go on. And the pain is less, I think, because I have mourned other losses of family members and friends and colleagues and beloved members here. The pain is less because of the remembrance which impels me to say yes to life and to look to the future again. Now, I'm not obsessed with my mother's death. I'm not guilt-ridden by all that I did not say or do. I believe I'm simply experiencing my grief over time in a natural way. Because grief at my mother's death is not something I have to get over, and I never will. Thoughts of her will never pass away, because I'm not sure time heals all wounds. There's nothing automatic about healing. Real wounds have scars, and in that way we are all wounded creatures. We're all wounded healers. The poet May Sarton said it better than I can in her poem All Souls. Did someone say that there would be an end? An end, oh, an end to love and mourning. What has been once so interwoven cannot be revealed, raveled, nor the gift ungiven. Now the dead move through all of us still glowing. Mother and child, lover and lover mated, are wound and bound together and inflowing. What has been plaited cannot be unplaited, and the strands grow richer with each loss. And memory makes kings and queens of us. Dark into light, light into darkness, spin when all the birds have flown to some real haven. We who find shelter in the warmth within, listen and feel new, cherished, new, forgiven, as the lost human voices speak through us and blend our complex love, our mourning without end, our mourning without end. We will never, once and for all, be done with our mourning. None of the people we lose to death is replaceable or will ever be forgotten. None of us is erasable from another's life. When I look around this room, in this building, I see and remember those who are no longer here. Kay Scott, Elsie Durland, Betty Smith, Don Cleary, others that you are remembering and holding. Who are you thinking of? Mm-hmm. Mm. The beloved are still with us, and many others who have gone before them. The pain of their loss remains, our love remains. The mourning will not end, but life will continue. And we will grow in our capacity to live life. We don't get over our grief or our mourning. We learn to get through, to live with our grief. Because grief is not a thing or even a feeling, it is a process, a continuum of emotions that holds at its own pace. We don't get to know in advance how much time it will take us, and no one can tell us that. We have no choice but to be present with what is in each moment. I wish there was a shelf life for grief, right? That we could just prescribe that. Just say, this is how long you will be, and then you'll be fine. It doesn't work that way. And sometimes our grief feels like an open, gaping wound, and sometimes like an immense purple bruise, and sometimes like just another day. We can even laugh at times. Our faith teaches us how to be present to our grief. the same way we are present to our breath as we sit, noticing our thoughts and our feelings arising, letting them go and returning. And when we feel ripping sorrow, we stay with it, feeling it deeply, breathing, letting it go. And just as we stay present to the sorrow, sometimes we can also be present to the lack of sorrow, because this happens too. Grief can include anger, joy, guilt, depression, tears, loneliness, comfort, or nothing at all. And our faith teaches us that everything that arises falls away, and all we have is this moment, now. And sometimes rituals help. They give us a structure, a map, and a supportive community in which to cultivate that deepening, that compassion, that kindness. My colleague Barbara Peskin recounts a tradition of many Northern Plains tribes like the Lakota, the Kiowa, and the Blackfeet, known as the Winter Count, that she found in a book by Barry Holston Lopez. She writes, and I quote, "In the evenings, in the winter, the clan gathers around the fire and one of the elders takes the old buffalo robes. And on the robes are pictures. Some of them, I imagine, ash sharply drawn and clear. They have been more recently drawn. And some of the pictures on the buffalo robes are probably blurred and smudged. They are older, perhaps as old as the robes themselves. Each picture represents events that happened in a particular year. And the families sit together, tracing the pictures with their eyes and with their fingers. The pictures make a web of stories. It is in this way that the family remembers its people, and in this way the younger members learn what has happened in the past and what people and events have made them who they are. This was the year of the big snow. This was the year the game was plentiful. This was the year so many babies were born. This was the year the wise woman died. This was when the young men went to war. This is when the old ones danced to heal them when they returned. Here is the tally of big rains and long droughts, and this year the food was scarce, and this year we had enough. We need rituals that honor the past and those people and events that act as foundations for our future, not as chains that bind us. So we are made to hold the dead within us and among us, and to summon their courage, to conjure up their kindness, their laughter, their strength, and return these to the world through the living of our lives. We're built to withstand grief, to survive and thrive in honor of our dead, and with their blessing, to move through life. We've been constructed in such a way that we can safely travel in our days with sorrow as an intimate companion. Our hearts are built to see it in each other. Sorrow, loss, grief, despair, and respond with all of our old-fashioned remedies, with kindness most of all. There is no one living now who will not someday be bereft, for we are all made for love, and thus for loss. I have known 1,000 kinds of death, writes Ibtisam Barakat. Death of a plant on the windowsill, death of a pet that listened more than a mother, death of a big dream because I could not find a big warm room for it in cold weather. Not even one death was kind as it took without permission, but all were generous, offering an absence, a fierce sunset followed by a feared darkness, without which I would never have befriended the moon and the guiding stars in myself. Over all these years, I have seen you do this work, seen you weathering with a sturdy, radiant, amazing grace. I have been learning, watching you, not to ignore or banish my grief, but to offer it a seat, to invite it to sit beside me and point me toward those guiding stars within myself and see what kind of magic can be made by time and memory and compassion and kindness. And so, shall we mourn without ceasing? No. Let us mourn when we are mourning, and let us rejoice when we are rejoicing. Let us have them both, for both are necessary for us to grow into fullness, to live wholeheartedly. As William Blake said, joy and woe are woven fine. Under every grief and pine runs a joy with a silken twine. It is right, it should be so. We are made for joy and woe. And in a community like this broken, beautiful, fragile, and tensile, strong community, let us minister to each other in our joy and in our woe, in our pain and in our hurt, when we are sinned against and when we sin against others and make a mess of our lives and other people's lives. As we grieve and as we heal, let us do this work together. And as we do this work, let us also hold in remembrance those persons, those events, those experiences that have the power to heal and transform our lives. For this is how, friends, individuals grow in faith, in faithfulness, and this is how communities grow together. And in all weathers and seasons of the Spirit, making this place a sanctuary and a refuge, a haven and a home. So may it be. Amen. And now, since I have laid my burden down, let us rise in body and or in spirit to sing with some joy. Glory, glory.
Yes,
Hallelujah.
yes. 201, great hymn song.
Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Feel like shouting, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Feel like shouting, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down.
Life is sweeter.
Life is sweeter, so much sweeter, since I laid my burden down. Life is sweeter, so much sweeter, since I laid my burden down.
Feel like dancing.
Feel like dancing, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down.
Our benediction is from my friend, my mentor, and colleague, the Reverend Dr. Mark Morrison Reed. We are all dying, our lives always moving toward completion. We need to fear not death, but life. Empty lives, loveless lives, lives that do not build upon the gifts that each of us has been given, lives that are like living deaths, lives which we never take the time to savor and appreciate, lives in which we never pause to breathe deeply. What we need to fear is not death, but squandering the lives we have been miraculously given. So let us die laughing, savoring one of life's crazy moments. Let us die holding the hand of one we love and recalling that we tried to love and were loved in return. Let us die remembering that life has been good and that we did what we could. But today, just remind us that we are dying so that we can live, savor, and love with all our hearts. Let us die laughing. So I close with a joke. So little Johnny was looking at this beautiful display in the lobby of the church before service that included names of people who had died in service, all the people who had served the country and died in service. And he was just watching it when the minister walked up to him and stood next to him and started looking at it. And at one point, Johnny turned to the minister and said, "What is this? This beautiful display that you have?" The minister said, "Well, Johnny, it's all the young people in our congregation who died in service." And so Johnny looked at it, and he looked at it, and then he turned to the minister and he said, "Which service? The 9 o'clock or the 11 o'clock?" While I don't know if we have that kind of a terminal effect on all of you, we are still grateful that you showed up to worship. Go in peace, go making peace, living gently, loving fiercely, and bowing to the mystery.